The first semi-final of the World Cup is done. South Africa took on New Zealand at the Eden Gardens and they were quite strong favourites heading into the game, and they got an absolute beating from the Kiwis, and from being unbeaten they're now knocked out of the World Cup. So let us see how it all went across. Heading into the game, there was a lot of talk about how South Africa kind of choke. I'll not beat around the bush. They haven't done quite well in knockouts, even though they enter the knockouts as favourites in most games. They hardly ever manage to cross that line. You saw that in the Champions Trophy semis last year, where they went down to New Zealand, and then in 2024 the T20 World Cup final versus India, and even in 2023 the World Cup semi-final at Kolkata versus Australia. In all of those games, many would have considered them as favourites heading into the game, but they just seem to miss that edge in knockouts. And as much as you want to say that today they didn't choke, but they were outplayed and all of that, to be very honest, there were signs that they were feeling the pressure, and it's all been happening for far too long, and there are similar patterns that I saw today as well. It all started with them batting and the kind of conviction they usually have had in this tournament. You just saw that missing in the shots that the batters tried. I think Cole McConkey, unbelievable game for him to feature in a World Cup semi-final as someone who's hardly played much of high-level international cricket is unbelievable, and then to have that kind of impact. He was retained in the side ahead of Ish Sodhi just for the matchup of Quinton de Kock and Ryan Rickelton, and there he was bowling in the power play in the second over, and he got rid of both of them of successive deliveries. So an absolute dream scenario for New Zealand, and then he wasn't given the ball after that in the entire innings, which is quite understandable. So that was a very good start for New Zealand, and you saw South Africa just feeling the heat, not going for their shots even though they had depth. I know they lost 8 wickets in the end, but at one stage you had Markram kind of stuck in the middle. You had Tristan Stubbs not really knowing when to go for his shots. Only Marco Jansen really stepped up in some way and he batted really well, but 170 on that pitch I don't think was ever going to be enough, and what hit them was unbelievable. Everyone saw that. Finn Allen scoring 100 of 33 balls, which is the fastest ever in T20 internationals, and he was unbelievable. I had felt that Dew would come into play, but honestly I don't think it was Dew. It was just top class batting from Finn Allen and Tim Seifert as well. But I felt that South Africa had a chance there as well. In the very second over, if I'm not wrong, Tim Seifert absolutely got a top edge and the ball went straight up somewhere towards short fine leg, and you had Devol Brevis running in from fine leg. He had about 3 or 4 steps to walk in and take the catch, but you had Quinton de Kock, the keeper, running for it as well, and he kind of called for the catch even though it was a much easier catch for Brevis, and ended up dropping it. So who knows, if they had got that early wicket, things would have been really different, but they weren't. Seifert and Allen capitalized. South Africa didn't get their lengths right as well. A lot of half volleys, and when they got their length right, the line was wrong. So everything went wrong for South Africa. There were a few close calls as well, I would say. A few balls dropping in the no man's land, some falling short of the fielder, going just over. That's a bit of luck, but for the larger part, I would say they were bamboozled by the Kiwis. And by the time they did get their first wicket, it was too late, and New Zealand rampaged home and are into yet another final. I haven't seen them win much over my watching career, but I would definitely want them to do well whenever they play. So yet another final for them, and we've got another semi-final coming up tomorrow, which is India versus England at the Wankhede. That will be a very big game, and definitely the crowd was there today as well. Of course, this World Cup one of the highlights has been the crowd support for neutral games, and even in the semi you had quite a large crowd present despite the festival going on in India. Of course, Holi, today was Holi, so despite that you had quite a decent crowd. And tomorrow there's absolutely no way you're going to find a single empty seat. A World Cup semi-final at the Wankhede, you might have all the VIPs, the celebrities, all of them present as well. And I do feel a bit scared for India, I won't lie, because of the occasion and the conditions, which are probably conditions that would suit England the most of all Indian venues. Definitely, India still start as favourites and they are a better side than England. But if England had to pick one venue to play India, it'll probably be this. So this is the best chance England have at winning against India. And who would have thought at the start of the tournament that England would make it all the way to the semis and would still have a chance to compete and defeat India in the semis. That's how tournaments work, and it's been a glorious run for England so far, especially once the Super 8s have commenced. They've looked quite good, and they would hope that one of Phil Salt or Harry Brook goes on an absolute rampage and kind of kills the game like Finn Allen did today. That would be their best chance, and they would also want Josh Butler to come to form. He's had a terrible campaign. I think he scored 60 odd runs in about 7 or 8 innings, which is unbelievable for someone like Butler, playing in conditions where he's most used to playing. Plays about 14 to 15 games here every single year, and then to have such a season, it would be very hard on him as well. And I'm sure he's itching to have a big innings, and what better occasion than to do it against India when the odds are against you. So that's one player I'm a bit worried about, even though he's had a horrible season. For India, I would definitely hope that Abhishek Sharma finds his form. He's not at all looked in touch. Even the 50 that he scored versus Zimbabwe and the start he got versus I would say West Indies and even South Africa, he hasn't looked like the Abhishek Sharma of old. And definitely India are missing that, and Ishan Kishan, he too has dropped off a bit. So they were saved by Sanju Samson in the previous game, and they were saved multiple times by different individuals with the bat. So they haven't had that one big collective performance except for the Zimbabwe game, I would say. So they would really want either of Abhishek or Ishan to do well, along with of course Surya, and then let the finishers in Hardik and Dubey kind of take you up from there. So you would want a good base tomorrow, and if you're batting first, I would really want them to put up 10 to 15 runs above what they feel is the safe score, because you never know what the opposition can do in the second innings at Wankhede. Even though in this tournament we haven't seen the chasing team get much of an advantage due to the dew not coming and the anti-dew spray being applied, but it's always better to have a bit of a safe room for your bowlers in knockouts. And you have seen India score 190 and lose a World Cup semi-final at the Wankhede in 2016. So they have had experience of doing that. So you would rather want to be on the safer side and not leave anything in the tank for tomorrow. I'm hoping that the best team wins, and I see that being India. But this is a World Cup semi-final and anything can happen.